Hey, hi, hello, and welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. My name is Andy, sometimes Mouse, and I talk about books and book-related things, and today I am giving you my April wrap-up. April was the first month back from maternity leave, both at my real job and this job, which is not a job because they don't pay me, so this is this hobby. So this was my first official month back, first time making the TBR and all of that. And following my reading plan, and it wasn't a bad return. Considering in March I only read 6 books, it was not a bad return. So let's go ahead and start talking about the stats. In case this falls down, I am wearing a shirt, just we all know. It just keeps slipping down. Anyway, okay, let's talk about the stats. I read a total of 20 books in April. For pages read, it was 1,602, and for audiobook hours listened, it was 195 hours and 59 minutes, which as days is 8 days, 3 hours and 59 minutes. My average pages per day was 98.3, and my average audio hours per day was 6 hours, 27 minutes and 37 seconds. My average rating was a 3.5, and I think that's because of the vampire books, the Anne Rice books. I think finishing those is what brought that down so far, because they sucked. I'm not ranking them as the worst books I read this month, because surprisingly there is a book that wins over all of that, but yeah. Then we have, I purchased no books, which cost me no money, and I checked out 14 library books, which saved me $313.73. I reread 5 books. My audiobooks were, I read 15 audiobooks, 5 ebooks, and no physical books. That's kind of because with the October Day books, I would either be reading digital, audio, or the physical books, because I have all 3 of all of them. Don't talk to me about that. For intended audiences, 15 of them were adult, 4 of them were young adult, and 1 of them was middle grade / children's book. For genres, 1 was sci-fi, 9 were fantasy, 1 was romance, 1 thriller, 5 horror, 1 classic, 1 nonfiction, and 1 contemporary. We're just racking them up. Probably the last month where I'm going to actively try to read 1 of every genre, because I simply don't want to. I don't want to. I have enough things going on, so I'm not going to. That's how that's going to work. So let's go ahead and talk about my top books this month. One of them is a book that is not released yet, but I got my grubby little hands on Milk Teeth by Caitlin Starling. Thank you, Caitlin. Genuinely thank you. It was very funny for the timing of me reading this book. I was reading it in the middle of the night while either pumping or breastfeeding. And that was the only time I was able to sit down and read the book. This book is about, in this realm, vampires have to have essentially a broodmother who is a milk nurse, a nursemaid who nurses fledgling vampires or baby vampires so that they become fledglings, because when they're first made they can't process human blood, but if they have a broodmother, the broodmother is somehow able to take in human blood and then just change it in a way that is consumable for the baby vampires. I'm not talking about babies. I'm talking about they were recently changed. Again, the timing of this was really interesting because so much of it is akin to breastfeeding, which was intentional. Caitlin often refers to this as a book about breastfeeding vampires. It is such an interesting concept. The idea of consuming to be consumed, of both loving and hating the experience, of it being fulfilling but also draining and exhausting, and sometimes you just want to be no, I want to sleep, while also having the very classic, per Caitlin, horror elements, and this story of the brood mother kind of finding her own and becoming her own person, outside of that context, and outside of the expectations of this society of vampires who don't treat the broodmothers particularly well, which is crazy if you're asking me. But that's, they essentially can keep them trapped up in a tower, and I'm why you guys wouldn't exist without these things. But anyway, but also that's its own conversation, right? We tend to do that with mothers, and I think I think it's interesting. I thought it was a really fun book. I thought it was, especially if you're a mom who likes horror and you breastfed or pumped or any of those things, I think that you will enjoy that. Obviously, please read the trigger warnings on the book when it comes out, but it was really good. Then my second top book is going to be Hogfather by Terry Pratchett. This is a Christmas book. This is a Christmas book, but I still freshly read it because it was on my TBR of the next like Terry Pratchett, because I'm trying to read all the Discworld books. I knew I would probably like this book because I like the movie a lot. Yeah, I really like the movie. I don't, if you've never seen Hogfather, the movie, it's great. These god-like creatures, they're not gods, they're the auditors, want to get rid of the like make-believe imaginary things, so like Santa, aka Hogfather in this universe, and so he gets reverted back to being a literal hog, and so Death has to start being Hogfather because he's just like determined to make sure that these children get their gifts and stuff. Death is such an interesting character in this world. But then also Death's granddaughter is like running around. There's like a whole other plot going on of like the person who is trying to like kill these imaginary characters and like take their power. And Death's granddaughter is like a babysitter, and she is telling kids like, no, the monsters aren't real and that kind of thing, and is just trying to dismiss the fact that she's Death's granddaughter, and then it all comes to a head like obviously when it's time for Hogfather to come and it's Death. It was really fun and lighthearted. I feel like sometimes the Discworld books, while they're very good and very funny, can conceptually feel very heavy, and I think that this was a really good book. I thought it was a fun break in between the other stories, and also I frankly love the stories about Death and Death's family. They are some of my favorite books, so you know, that's one of my favorite characters that Terry Pratchett writes about. Next we have my least favorite book this month, which I'm going to try not to rant too long about it, mostly for the sake of editing me, who's going to have to like edit it down and deal with uploading the video and all of that, but it's a nonfiction book called The Wonder Weeks by Hetty Van Ridge. If you have children and you like recently had children, like more recently, someone might have recommended to you the Wonder Weeks app. It was all over the Facebook due date group that I was in. I knew I wanted to read the book anyway, like I had the book marked to read anyhow. So I was like, cool, I'll download the app. First off, my first problem with the app, we'll talk about my problems with the book too, but my first problem with the app is that it immediately requires you to have to be paying for it. Like you get a trial, but let me play around with some features before you immediately are telling me I have to pay to even use the app. That's crazy. There's no free anything. That's wild. That's fucking, no thank you. Second, when I put in my child's date of birth, it also was like due date, which I also put, and they were like, oh, he was a preemie, cool. Then the app, so the Wonder Weeks is like, babies go through leaps, and a leap is like a fussy period, and the everything's fine period, yay, we've learned something new period, okay? They go through more of these things as newborns and as baby, like their first year, because they are becoming people for the first time. No, let me go back to the app. It basically said, no, because your baby was 6 weeks early, he has gone through no leaps. He has learned nothing yet. And so I like went to check things off on the app, like no, like he's done all of these things already. We've done this already. We're through this period already. They said, no, you're not. No, you haven't. It didn't happen. So I either had to lie about his due date and then have him be behind on some things, or be honest about his due date and have it tell me that I was wrong. Annoying. But they said, no, like scientifically, it's not possible for a preemie to be at this point yet. Okay, fuck you, bye. So the book is that concept, but it's like rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. oh, your kid's gonna have a fussy period. Here is half of a chapter about the fussy period, wherein we include quotes. The quotes make up like 50% of the book, which was insufferable. And these quotes are like, yeah, one time I was so frustrated, and I am not exaggerating when I'm telling you this one. One time I was so frustrated with my baby that I just threw my baby onto the changing table because she wouldn't stop screaming. And that made me feel better. They have to repeatedly say, hey, don't shake your baby, because so many of these confessionals talk about throwing or shaking or wanting to smack your baby for being fussy. I had a moment the other day where it was just me in the house. Aiden was at work. Been screaming for like 2 hours. He had been going through a sleep regression, which according to the fucking Wonder Weeks he wouldn't have done yet. He was going through his like 3-4 month sleep regression. So he wasn't sleeping well. So he was just super tired. And we had done a lot over the weekend. And he was screaming his head off for 2 hours. And I was at my wit's end. I was like, I'm gonna fucking lose my mind. What did I do? Did I throw him? No. I don't know if I said my child's name. If I did, I'm so sorry to editing me. You're gonna have to edit that out. Did I do any of those? No. I simply set him down somewhere safe and walked to a different room so I could regulate myself, calm myself down, and then I came back and was able to soothe him. And then we went somewhere else. We went to my parents' house because I was like, we need a change of space. We need to not be in this house right now. I don't want to read about parents who can't do that. Honestly, if that's your experience and whatever, and you needed to feel seen with that, okay, but not for me. I'm sorry. I couldn't stomach reading those. And then the book was just like rinse and repeat of the same thing over and over again. They might meet these milestones. This is them going to be fussy. They're going to be fussy during this time. Automatically. And I was like, this seems fucking stupid. I'm going to be so honest. This seems stupid. Like, of course your baby's going to be a little fussy a couple of times a month. Like, that's just babies. Why did we need a book and an app to figure this out? So then I was Googling it because I was like, this seems like bullshit, quite frankly. Like, this seems like they took a very well-known child concept, but then like made it much more complicated and much more like rigid. And it's pissing me off, and I don't think it's real. It's not. The author got literally kicked out of academia, because anytime someone that was trying to also study this concept, or specifically his research and his concepts, he would put out like a paper to discredit them and try to get them run out of academia. None of these results could be recreated when people tried it. If you have like a completely average or normal baby, then yes, this works great. But if you have a preemie, if you have a baby that might be slightly delayed, if you have even a slightly different experience per this book and this app, something is greatly wrong. Something's wrong. When, no, babies are literally people, so they don't work that way. They don't like work at this specific structured rigid thing. It's like I was constantly seeing in my Facebook groups of these women that were like, my baby's like freaking the fuck out. I don't know what to do. Like, I can't get them to calm down. It's at this specific time. Witching hour. Witching hour is evil. We experience witching hour now, and it's evil, by the way. And people are like, do you know if they're in a leap? Do you know if they're in a leap? No, it's literally witching hour. That's like a well-known concept, where babies just like lose their shit as the sun starts to go down sometimes. Some babies, not all babies, because not all babies do the same shit. Okay? I've read lots of parenting books. This one was just like really bad. Just like particularly terrible. And I hated it. So yeah, that's it. That's my wrap up for April. I hope that you enjoyed this video where I ranted about parenting. And now I think some people are just bad at it. Parenting a baby. I can't talk about any other parenting. I've never done anything else. But now that I've actually parented a baby, some people are just bad at it. Or they have no common sense skills, and that's crazy. Anyway, I'm so judgmental. I'm such a bitch. I'm so sorry. I feel like you wouldn't be here if I wasn't, though. Like you should know this about me by now. Unless you're new and this is your first time seeing me. Sorry. Hi. yeah, so that's that. That's the wrap up. What a time. I am gonna go because I've got to do some things before I film another video, but I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, and you've never been here before, don't forget to like and subscribe and share. If you've been here before, don't forget to like and share, but if you know, subscribe if you're not subscribed. Comment down below if you have opinions about parenting, but what do you think about the Wonder Weeks? No, you know, what do you think about breastfeeding vampires? I don't know, you know, just text, you know, I almost said text me, don't text me, weird. Just comment down below if you've got some thoughts. I'd like to hear them. I love talking about books with you guys, even if it takes me a little bit to reply. Sorry, my life is my life now. But yeah, I will talk to you guys later. I post videos every Tuesdays and Thursdays at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time, except for the first full week of the month, because taking breaks is very important for your mental health and my mental health. So I will see you guys later on this week for the weekly vlog. Don't forget to take your meds, drink your water, and do something today to take care of yourselves. Okay, thanks, bye.